had some sort of unspecified immunological illness that really, it's probably plagued me my whole life, but that really became acute in 2016. And I got very ill, and one of the side effects, apart from very low blood pressure, was insomnia. And so I was prescribed these benzodiazepines, and they stopped that from happening. I could sleep again. Very low dose, and I just kept taking them.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even feel them they had no effect on me as far as I could tell, apart from the fact that I could sleep. But it was a very stressful period of my life. It's when my university job came under assault, and there was a lot of things happening around me. And I had taken antidepressants before that, and that was probably part of an immunological problem as well. Many years later, I tried to stop taking them.
Yeah.
And that did not go well. So, and then, well, it's because that often happens to people. You shouldn't take benzodiazepines for more than a couple of weeks. So anyways, things spiraled out of control in consequence.
Was that
took about 3 years to.
So being in I'm just so curious about the coma thing. What was that experience like?
I don't remember much of it.
Zero of it.
Not zero, but it's pretty fragmented.
Like you just blacked out. Or you just wake up one day and the time's gone, and is it like sort of?
Yeah. There's no real difference between that and being asleep.
So you were dreaming?
Not that I can remember. No.
So
no, I was very ill when I went to Russia for treatment. Yeah. Strangely enough, and the diagnosis of the Russians when I got there was that someone was trying to kill me. So, well, I'd been prescribed a lot of different medications to deal with a variety of the problems I was experiencing, acute pain being one of them. And anyways.
You don't deal with any of that now?
I still have a lot of pain, but not compared to how much I did have.
So that was probably what you would agree. I think you had multiple things happening, but that was probably the lowest point in your life.
Yes.
And how did you get motivated again or battle to?
Well, I had a lot of support and a lot of opportunity, and both of those were relevant. Like I was in an absurd amount of pain. I mean, at one point I was walking 10 to 12 miles a day because I couldn't sit, I couldn't rest. I could only move, and that made things somewhat bearable. People, my family, they still wanted me around. And I did have a wealth of opportunities, and so I tried a variety of different treatments, and one of them finally likely worked. And I started to recover slowly, I guess in 2021. I think it was 21, fall of 21 or fall of 22. I woke up one day and the normal ceiling falling on me that happened in the morning didn't happen. And then I started to be able to sit a bit, and things gradually improved. And they're pretty good now. I mean, I generally have about as much pain as you'd have if you were, you know what it's like when you get the flu?
Yeah.
Your body aches?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's there all the time. But compared to what it was like, it's nothing. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Do you know what
I don't even know how to describe it.
You don't know what the actual diagnosis? No actual diagnosis?
Not really, no. It was an immunological response of some sort. So we're still trying to figure it out, partly because I would like to get rid of the rest of the pain. But at least I'm functional, and I've learned to manage it.
So I was just curious, because something I struggled with for a really long time was just the idea of death. And not that, being in a coma is like you're not dead, but you're not here. Yeah. What's your opinion of death? Like, what do you think happens? Besides the fact that your physical body is gone, obviously. Do you have some sort of idea of?
No, not really. I mean, I've done a lot of investigation into religious ideas, let's say, and part of that complex of ideas involves conceptions of the infinite, or conceptions of the afterlife. But I gotta say, my concern with death has really taken the form of concern with using the time that I have in the most productive and meaningful possible way. And that seems to me to be, I have Okay, I know how to answer that. We have a series of documents about Socrates' death. And so Socrates was brought up on charges by his Athenian peers of corrupting the city's youth. And really, and the penalty for that, it was a form of religious heresy, the penalty for that was death. And the Athenian aristocrats who didn't care for Socrates told him, essentially, we're going to put you on trial 6 months from now, and we're going to find you guilty, and we're going to kill you, and you better get the hell out of town. And Socrates went to think about this. His friends started making plans for him to leave. And he went and consulted his conscience. He called that his daemon. And he said his conscience told him not to run, that he should see it through. And so he said Socrates believed that the things that distinguished him from all other men was that he always did what his conscience told him, no matter what it was. And so he decided he was not going to change that. And when he went on trial, and when he explained his decision to his friends, he made a case that, this isn't the whole case, but it's part of it. His case was that he had lived a really full life and had done everything that was in his power to do, and that maybe the gods were offering him a graceful exit, and maybe that was okay. And so I kind of wonder, partly from contemplating that, if you lived your life completely, that might be enough. And here's some proof of that, maybe. You know, there's been difficult things that you've done in your life, and you've done them. Now, it's an open question whether you would do them again. It's as if, having done them once, you've completed something, right? And like my wife and I, for example, talked about whether or not we would have children again. And we really liked having children, and we really like having grandchildren. But it's not obvious that we would do it now again. Well, why? Well, it's something like we did that. Well, so maybe you're constituted so that if you took advantage of every opportunity that came your way, you'd live your life completely and you wouldn't be concerned about death because you'd had your life. And I think that might be true. And so I don't really ever think about the world after death. I mean, I'm kind of content to leave that in a zone of ignorance. I don't understand the relationship between, finite human beings and the infinite cosmos or the spirit behind it. Is there more to reality than we can see or understand? Well, obviously.
Yeah.
But what particular form that takes in relationship to life after death, it's not one of the questions that's really gripped me.